Today, we are 1 week away from the elections. 1 week away from the elections. There's a lot of anxiety in the air. There's a lot of fear in the air. There's a lot of lying in the air. There is a lot of disinformation and all kinds of conspiracy theories in the air. What do we do about this moment? What do we do about this moment? 1 week from the election. Well, fearless. Fearless. That's what we're talking about on this morning, being fearless. Because when election season comes, fear often fills the air. It's a time when promises are made and power shifts, and if we're not grounded, that fear will shake us. History shows a resilience of our ancestors, that they faced down all kinds of systems, and they knew something we sometimes forget, and that is fear is a tool of control. And God didn't call us to be controlled by fear. He called us to be bold, unshaken, and unshakable, clear minded, even if it feels as if the world is upside down. So this morning, on this 1 week away from the election, I want to deal with fearless. I want to deal with fearless. The text to talk to take away 5 minutes or less. For you already know it. He has not given you, here's the text, he's not given you a spirit of fear, but of love and of power and of sound mind. He has not given you a spirit of fear, but of love and of power and of sound mind. Well, let me greet some people this morning, and then we're going to get right into our morning devotion here, and that is all about being fearless. And for the next couple, 3 days or so, that's what we're going to talk about on Halloween. Of course, I'm going to have a whole different and special um, morning manna for Halloween. But today, tomorrow, and Friday, we got to deal with this whole thing about the election as we promised we would. And today, it's all about being fearless. Good morning, Brother Nesbitt. How are you on this morning? Annette, how are you? Vicky, how are you? Brenda, how are you? Deacon Joe, how are you? Pamela, how are you? Angela, how are you on this morning? Gerald, how are you? Dawn, how are you on this morning? Good morning, Anna. How are you? Ramona, how are you? Ella, how are you? Good morning, Erica. How are you? Elder Mobley, how are you doing on this morning? Lydia, how are you? Minister Sent, how are you? Elder Jan, how are you on this morning? Pastor Mike Moody, how are you on this morning? Brother Pope, yes, Middlesex, North Carolina. How are you on this morning? Arlene, how are you doing on this morning? And this morning, I'm starting, if you will, a kind of this series about the election and preparing us from a biblical point of view with respect to how do we need to approach it. 1 week from today, which is going to be one of the most consequential elections in our lifetime. I argue this election is probably one of the most important elections in the life of this country. We're going to determine what the next generation or two is going to look like and view things such as social justice, such as doing right, and all of those kinds of pieces. Well, it's all about this. The text to talk, the takeaway, the text is He's not giving you a spirit of fear, but of love and of power and of sound mind. Here's the three things I want to share with you with respect to um, fearless. One, know that you have power over panic. Power over panic. Know that the strength within you comes from God and not the world. For greater is He that is in you than he that is in the world. And at the end of the day, all power comes from Him. At the end of the day, all authority comes from Him. And as a result of someone's misuse of it, I can call on the power that is within me to keep me from being fearful. Here's the second thing I want to share with you: love over lies. Love over lies. Choose connecting with compassion, breaking through all of this divisive tactics that we see. See a whole lot of divisive tactics wrapped around sexual fluidity. Yeah, I do have a problem with all of that. But I also have a problem with people using that to leverage to hold on to power, to leverage and hold on to power. So I like to look at it from the perspective of love over lies. Love over lies. He's not giving you a spirit of fear, but of love and of power and of sound mind. Focus over frenzy. That's the third thing. The focus over frenzy. There is a frenetic shaking that is happening right now. It really is. We are at an inflection point in this country, to be sure. But you have to stay focused over the frenzy and the inflection point that is happening. Stay grounded. Remember that our hope is built on nothing less than Jesus' blood and righteousness. I dare not trust the sweetest frame, but wholly lean on Jesus' name. Christ, the solid rock I stand. All other ground is sinking sand. So maintain that you got power over the panic, love over the lies, and focus over the frenzy and the frenetic inflection point that we're at. What's your takeaway this morning? Your takeaway is this: we're not called to shrink back, but to move forward. We're not called to shrink back into fear, but to move forward into the future that God has for us. Let me say that again. We're not called to shrink back into the fear, but into the future that God has called us into. The Lord be with you today. May his face shine upon you and give you peace. If this bless you, bless somebody else. Don't keep it to yourself. And I'm going to be talking about how we need to move forward because a week from today is on. God bless you. Share the manna. Don't keep it to yourself.